Welcome to TCISD Talks, a podcast where we dive into the heart of Texas City Independent School District. Join us as we journey through insightful conversations, celebrate achievements, and explore innovative ideas that shape our school district. So whether you're a parent, a student, an educator, or simply someone who cares about the power of education, get ready to dive into the stories that make TCISD shine. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and engaged, because TCISD Talks starts now. All right. Hi, and welcome to this episode of TCISD Talks. I'm Clarissa Silva.
And I'm Alyssa Tortorisi.
And today we're delving into a topic that's really relevant for this time of year, making a smooth transition into the new school year. So in the studio with us are TCISD curriculum coordinators Jennifer Haralson and Sarah Evans. And they're going to offer some practical advice that will help make this transition a seamless and positive experience for everyone. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yes,
We're excited to be here.
We are so glad that you're here.
This is a really good topic to cover at this time of year because kids are just getting back in, parents are getting used to everything. So tell us a little bit first about kind of what are some of those common challenges that students can face in this transition period?
Sure. It's very normal for kids to have academic, social, emotional stress during any type of transition, especially during the school year. These stressors can sometimes be intensified by counterproductive behaviors and how kids deal with those things, like social avoidance or secluding themselves from others. So depending on the grade level, too, kids are growing. They're going through different changes as they grow, and that can affect their mood and how they handle and deal with things. And academic stress, obviously, going into a new grade level or even into a new school, maybe, a new district, anything like that that's new or out of what they would consider normal can be stressful for kids.
Yeah, and so some things that you could do, parents and students alike, is work on changing like your mindset, like your words and your thinking. So instead of saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't go to that class, I can't, shift it to maybe I can't do it yet. And then think about or come up with a plan of what are the steps you could take so that you can accomplish whatever that challenge is. And then also parents, you could think about, help your students focus on what's staying the same. So even if they are transitioning to a new campus, like elementary to a middle school or high school, think about, hey, you're going to get to see your friends again. If they're at the same campus, maybe they had a really good positive connection with a teacher that they had last year and have them, hey, go by and talk to that teacher or the counselor. Like there's other things, help them realize, oh, it's not all changing. It's just, I can't sleep until noon now. I've got to get up a little earlier and kind of help set those expectations. And then also help them prioritize kind of what's important and focus on what they can change. Like there's certain things that you can't change. Like you can't change. You got to go to school. Can't change that.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need them to go to school every day.
Yes.
You can't change what the school is serving for lunch, but hey, if you don't like it, maybe you could
Bring your own lunch.
Or just kind of plan accordingly. If you know your class is going to be really cold, then like, okay, I need to have a sweatshirt in my backpack. Like just think about what can I change and then not worry about and focus on the other stuff and just kind of think of, okay, today's going to be a good day. We woke up. What can we do? How can I make a positive impact?
Kind of thinking positive, making the best out of the day.
Well, your mindset definitely, you're going to behave and act and do the things the way your mind is telling you to. So
Absolutely.
those are all
sure.
Great tips.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we also know that it's important to have a place where you're dedicated to getting your work done, and we know organizational skills are so important. So if you could just kind of share with us about how you could set up a productive work study place and how you can manage your time and things along those lines.
Yeah, sure. Well, being a mom of 4 boys, 3 of whom have graduated, one of the biggest things as a parent for me was routine, right? So my kids had a routine. Every day they came home from school, they knew exactly what they were supposed to do, X, Y, and Z, and we're going to do these things before we go and do the other things, like sports or extracurriculars. And I know that can change depending on the age and the grade level, but routine is important. And when you have that routine, even though with life, things get in the way and you can't always control those things, but if you have that routine to always fall back to and that becomes a habit, kids feel more secure and they know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So I think that the foundation of setting up, organization and getting those habits in place is just routine.
And like another thing too, so on the routine part, I have a 9-year-old and a 15-year-old. And so organization for each of them is going to look different. So for my 9-year-old, his routine is I make sure, is he 9 or 8? He's 8. I'm a bad mom.
It's okay, same.
Anyway.
Not much difference.
Same, close enough, 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Anyway, is like he has to have his clothes set out for the next day the night before, including socks, because parents, I'm sure you've had some 6:30 a.m. meltdowns over socks. So it's those little things, let's get it set the night before, have a backup set, something is tiny. But also think about organization, using a planner. Like some of our schools, they come home with a planner, having them keeping track of either on a paper planner or on a phone planner of all the activities that you have going on. But keep in mind, we all only have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So you can't, don't overplan. And it's okay to plan that downtime. We don't have to go and go and go and go. I say, because right now kids are still getting used to being back in that routine of, I can't have a midday 4-hour nap. I'm at school.
Can't sleep till noon and then take a nap at 4.
Yeah, they come home, they're like, I'm so tired already. So if we kind of make sure that we aren't just over scheduling and thinking about that. I know for us on staying organized, at home, we have a 2-month rotating calendar. So I have all of our after school activities, anything appointments might be going on that we just kind of rotate. So at a quick glance, we know, okay, this week we have this. And it also helps me with meal planning because it's we have an evening event every night. So it's either going to be leftovers or we're planning something else because, in a way, it's groceries. But just finding that balance and that visual of use of the planners. I know, I use the calendar on my phone. Everything gets calendared in. I've started to get my high school kid, used to that, too, because if I don't put it on my calendar, I might accidentally triple book myself. Right. Because I forgot that I told somebody I was going to do this. Right. And then, so if I just put it on there, then it's oh, okay.
And it's great because phones do have a lot of free tools like that you can use. Or even just, I'm thinking if someone doesn't want to invest in a planner, if you at least just wrote it out on a piece of paper, you can make your own calendar. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Just a notebook, piece of paper, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, however you want to set it up. This is what we got going on.
Yeah, and the nice thing I know a lot of times with the phones is you've got apps that you can share as a family. So it's you're going to have a calendar, your kid's going to have the same calendar, so they know everything that's going on in the family and in school. What's going on with them with school. They know what's going on. Hey, we've got an activity this Saturday. I can't go play with my friends.
Yes.
And everything else. So there's plenty, I think, of resources out there that our kids and parents can make use of.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the phone. If you've got a calendar, it's free. It's a free app. Yes. It's already on there. That's really good.
And I use that alarm system on my phone all the time, too. So, so kids, if you know when you get home, you have to start your homework by 4, you can set an alarm to do it.
That's right. That's right.
So give us a little bit of insight into, you talked a little bit about, you're starting new year, making transitions to new schools, new grades, and everything else. So give us a little insight in how, kids can adapt to those new learning environments and kind of set those achievable goals that they can get to this year.
Right. So the big thing about education in general is just growing. How did you grow? Do you learn? What are we, learning more, right? And the best way to do that is to stay organized. So for parents, I know I have it set up for both of my kids, is you can go into Skyward and set up an automatic email to get updates however frequently you want, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly for their grades or even behavior. So then that way it's easier for parents to kind of keep track of oh, hey, I notice your grade dropped a little bit, or asking them if, hey, do you have a test coming up? That, can help for the parent side. And then for students setting goals, just have them kind of think about if they're an elementary kid, I mean, it's going to be kind of small. Hey, can we stay on green this week? Only one day on yellow, whatever whatever their little goals, just make them bite-sized. And then, as they get older, kind of think of okay, do you have a test coming up? Let's try and schedule maybe 30 minutes a day to study for that test. So we're not up until midnight, 2 a.m. cramming the night before you have a test at school. If you do it in little bite-sized chunks, that can really help too. Another thing, when you think about setting goals and like strategies for trying to stay on top of your coursework and be successful, everybody learns differently.
Right.
And they learn at different rates. It doesn't make anybody, it's not bad. Just some people catch on quicker than others. And I know, like, for me, it took me like 2 extra years to learn to ride my bike than my brother did. So that doesn't make me any less of a bike rider now that I've learned. Right? And I know that's different than in school, but I'm just saying, like, everybody learns differently. But so think about you individually, how do you learn best? So we sit and take notes in class, but it's just copying notes best. Maybe you need to color code them. I know I still remember vividly 9th grade biology. My teacher had us color code the definition and the terms for every body system, plant system. Like, there was a purpose behind the color. So then when I'd take the test, I could close my eyes and be like, all right, it was 3/4 down the page. The word was in purple. The definition was in green. So there's a thing, research shows your brain has that memory connection, and it does work. So maybe you need that color coding practice. Or maybe once you take your notes in class, it helps if you just handwrite them again or type them up, because maybe, you're practicing to be a doctor and your handwriting is not super clear. I have some of those in my family. I'm like, you could have been a doctor. And just having them, because then you've already written them in class and you're really actually going over them again as you type up that notes or rewrite them. So then you're helping to create that long-term memory component in there as well. Another thing that's really common too is maybe you're more the artistic kind, or you like to doodle or draw. There are some great apps out there like Notability, Evernote, or Flow that have both free and paid versions that, like, you can take your notes and then, like, doodle them out.
Oh, wow.
Or it gives you like an artwork to go with it. So then you've now created a visual to go with the text. Maybe that's how you learn.
Oh, that would have helped me so much for science.
Right. Yes, I know. And so I think, it's just trying to figure out, like, what helps me learn, the best. And it's okay if it's a little different.
And it might just take some trial and error, too, before you actually figure out how you learn the best.
And it may be different probably content.
Right.
Like, you may teach math like this, but, science maybe, or reading,
Yeah, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all,
Or one kid fits all. Like,
Right.
your
No.
oldest child may be completely different than your
right.
second,
Yes.
completely different than your middle.
That's
Yeah.
the way it is in our house.
Yeah, no, I remember when I was younger, for me, it was audio. It was like I would take notes handwritten during class, and then to prepare for a test, it's like I would record myself reading the notes and then, like, listen to them over and over and over again. And it was just something about having both the written and then the sound of it, like, basically repeating the lecture over and over again. It just made it sink in, and then it was like, okay, now I got this. I'm good.
Yeah, and I'm very much a storyteller, and I like the visual too. But if I were to have a conversation with somebody about something, I could totally remember that. But
Absolutely.
to read
Right.
something, it might take me a little longer to try to recall all the
Yeah.
important
Which
things.
is why we encourage, like, student discourse in the class.
Right.
Because if you can teach it to somebody or talk to somebody about your thinking of how you solved it or worked it, then you're going to internalize it and learn
Much
that
deeper.
much deeper.
Yes.
This is great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited for our parents and everybody listening, because I think this is going to be very helpful.
A lot of very good resources here.
Okay, so are there any additional resources that we hadn't touched on that you want to talk about that could be helpful to our parents and students as they transition into this next year?
Yeah, Sarah and I were talking earlier today about all the different resources that our district offers. And it's so many things that are available to our kids that people may not know of, like the 21st Century Program. I mean, we've got those almost on every campus. And
They're amazing.
They are, aren't they? I mean, and kids love it. Kids, who aren't in it want to be in it. So those programs enhance learning, but they do it in a way where the kids are engaged and having fun. So the learning piece is disguised.
Yeah, they're not realizing.
Right. And the beauty of it is that the site coordinators actually get with the campus that they're at, or with if it's more than one campus, and they coordinate their activities around what's being taught in the classroom. So it aligns with our curriculum. So they're nothing but supportive of learning. So, I know that, I just know that kids who aren't a part of it and they see it and they see their friends go, they want to go too. And the applications for those programs can be found on our district website. And they're campus specific. So, you would go to the campus that your child attends, and the applications are right there. So just knowing that that's there and that's an option. They offer homework help, tutoring, all of those things.
Oh gosh, that's so amazing.
Yes.
Especially that's a big benefit to parents too. If they can get a jump start on that homework before parents even get home and have to worry about dinner and all of that good stuff, that's amazing.
Yeah, and for
Right.
our high school kids, they also offer support and help with getting ready for like the SAT,
Yeah, for
and
college.
the ACT, and like
Mhm.
college
College readiness.
applications.
Yes. So, and they're very responsive to the needs. So whatever the needs are of the students in their program, they're responsive to that. So they meet those needs. So it may look a little bit different on each campus, but it's definitely an amazing resource. Another thing that we have in our district is Communities in Schools. They are a partner. So they offer more resources for families and students. And, one of the biggest things I feel like for parents is, offer your kids a listening ear. Kids are going through so many different things. School is different nowadays. And kids need a safe space to come. They need to know, they can come and they can vent. They can talk about what's going on at school. They can share their excitement. But really just being a listening ear, that sounds so simple, but it's a big deal.
It's a
really big deal.
I remember my favorite times to talk to my kids were when I had them captive in the car and they couldn't go anywhere.
Yes.
And I'd turn the radio down and
you-
be like, "Hey, tell me
corner
about
them.
tell me about your day. What was the
Yeah.
best thing about your day?" And
Right. And as they get older, when they get into that, middle teenage, they don't really want to talk that often. But if you can spark conversation up, like when you're in the car, or, if they know that you're a safe place to come to, just to talk. So just be that listening ear.
right.
And
And I
that's a
always
huge
found
thing.
too that if I listened to them tell all the little mundane little things, if they knew
Yes.
that I was listening to them tell all the stuff that really wasn't huge important, it was important to
them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that they would trust and know they could tell me the big, really big important things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that it goes far. It sounds really simple, but it really does go far. And of course, our school counselors, we have counselors on every campus, for kids struggling, again, with transitions or anything academic or social at school. Your school counselors are always a great resource to go to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's some really great information. I think we've got a lot of stuff for parents and students to think about, and I'm hoping they'll explore them. But is there anything maybe we didn't talk about that we didn't get to that y'all just are like, it's on your head and you're like, we got to get it out there?
Oh, man, there are so many things.
I was about to say, we'd be here all day, right?
Right.
We might have to do a
Exactly.
part 2.
I know. I was
Another
like,
time.
don't get me
Love
talking
that.
about
We would
math
love
and
that.
science because we
Right.
can be here for all day. No.
No, yeah, need to throw some reading curriculum in there, too.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
don't just for our kids or students who might be listening, don't be afraid to try and figure out what works now. Like now is the great time to figure out, how do I learn best? What's the best way for me to take
That's
notes?
right.
How do I study? Like ask for those support, because then when you get to college and you're going to the military, or maybe you're going to a trade school, like you're still going to have to study something.
Right.
So let's try and learn those habits now and figure out what works, because then that'll just make that transition that much easier for you. Yeah. And so some of the stuff, I'm like, we were going through it and I was joking. I was like, man, I wish I'd known this when I was getting ready
Yes.
for college.
Right.
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 Well, and even maybe they can talk to their friends who they respect, who make, like
Right.
my friend make great math grades and this friend does great English grades. How do you study? And you can talk to
Right.
your friends about how they do, and maybe they're doing something that you hadn't thought about
Right.
doing before.
Right.
Right.
And it's important to note, for kids, everybody has different strengths. So what your strength is may be different than someone else's. So just because you don't have the same strength as your friend or as that person in class, that's okay. That's why we're all we're here to learn. So we come together and bring all of our strengths, and we learn off of each other. But it's okay, and don't give up.
Right. And it's
Because
important that they
it
do
is.
know it's okay, because
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought I had to be great at everything. And
Right.
I know now as an adult that I'm not.
Yes.
And it's okay. Like
And
you said, I just
know-
play to my strengths, and I just have to
Yes.
work a little harder on the things that I don't do well at.
And one thing
Like
I
math.
always
like math. That's why we majored in words.
Yeah, there you go. One thing I always stress to my boys is when you need help, ask for help.
Yes. And a lot of kids
Ask.
have a hard time doing
They
that.
do. They
and
really
I would try to
do.
tell mine, because neither of mine I don't think would ever ask for help. And I'm like, look, if you
Yes.
don't know, someone else is
Ask
in
the
that
question.
classroom not knowing, and they're going to think
Yes.
you're the hero for asking the question.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Even
and-
as an adult, I'm like, if I don't know something, I was
100%.
like, you know what, I'm going to ask a question. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah,
I don't know
think
everything.
That's one of those things that you with experience, with age and experience, you come to accept. But
Yes.
it is hard for kids. But ask the teacher, ask whoever, but always ask for help because someone is willing to and wants to. I mean, that's why we're all here.
Right.
And I think
we
you
want
know,
everyone to
just
be successful.
Absolutely.
having that growth mindset. Like the quicker we can, get kids to realize it's okay, the power of yet. Like you may not know it today, but you'll get there.
Yes.
Don't give up and be willing to learn more. Like we're always learning. I learn
Yeah.
stuff every day. Sometimes it's from my kids that are younger than me. I'm like, oh,
Absolutely.
that's interesting.
We've got to keep up with the lingo.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a lot of information. I can't wait for people to listen to this episode, and hopefully they're taking notes when they're listening.
And sharing with all their other parent friends. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for
Thank you
being
for
here
having
today.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
That wraps up another episode of TCISD Talks, your window into Texas City ISD. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and gained valuable tips and perspectives. TCISD Talks is brought to you by the dedicated team in the Texas City ISD Communications Department, committed to keeping you connected and informed. Be sure to tune into our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the stories, ideas, and advice that shape the learning journey for our students, parents, and educators. Thanks for joining us on TCISD Talks. For more updates and news, visit our website at www.tcisd.org and connect with us on social media. Until next time, remember, together we succeed.